I don't think Alice really imagined herself standing in front of all those people, listening to her life story, reading through her own impressions of the work and herself, and then taking her photographs of milestones in her life, and then projecting them with music and dancing to it. And then as well, the other little things that I noticed were when we were having lunch, people coming up to the table to congratulate her and talk to her. And I also started to notice how good my colleagues were with people. She was, of course, like a film star. She was a little bit late, not too late, but a little bit late. And I was getting a little bit anxious, and I actually went to the front of the hotel and I looked out and I could see Alia, my student social worker, and Polly, the neighbour, and another very good friend, bringing her across. And I noticed immediately she was dressed in vibrant clothing. And then she went through the crowd of people up to the stage. I initially presented on integrated working and Alice and family group conferencing, and then Alice presented her own story.
She did indeed.
She did, and then remarkably, after she had done that story, there was a break, a lunch break, and she came on. We made a slideshow of photographs of her life, and it was to music. You can get it if you really want. And Alice had always told me that she'd be very happy to dance, and she certainly danced on that occasion, and I think everybody supported her.
And I remember her saying, she looked at the room full of social workers and professionals from different backgrounds, and she said, well, I'm really pleased to see you here, to come to see me.
Yes, and I think she said, she made a joke. She said, all the social workers here, I feel very safe. And then the other thing she said, which I thought was interesting, she said, welcome to my neighbourhood, which I thought was lovely, and I thought actually was right, because it was her neighbourhood, and when all the people had gone, she was still there.
And the place where Alice lived was really important, not just important to her, but you recognised its importance in the work that you did, and it was central to the family group conference. Her neighbourhood and the people that lived there.
Her neighbourhood, the people that lived there, and the fact that she knew Polly since she was a schoolgirl. I initially came to meet with Alice because there were some concerns, health concerns about her through the integrated care pathway, and I did my first home visit, and there Alice was on her settee, surrounded by these photographs of family from Ghana, and many of the things that she collected. She wanted to have it all.
And you were interested in her life, weren't you? To learn about her and her strengths and her story.
In the process of showing me photographs, she showed me one very beautiful, poignant photograph of herself and her husband getting married. I think it was at some point in the 50s, with the Routemaster bus behind them. Mm-hmm. And she then went on to talk about her work in a pharmaceutical company, and then sewing bags at Marks and Spencer's, which was fascinating. They would come round at the beginning of the week with a big parcel of unfinished bags. She put them all together, and she would get paid for piecework, and she did that for quite some time. And the other thing as well, of course, is there were photographs of her leaving the block, going out. She loved going dancing with her friends, and she was the caretaker of that block. So as Polly, one of her neighbours, said, she'd grown up with her as kind of Auntie Alice.
When family group conferences work well, they really do what they say on the tin. People get together. They act as a group. They make plans. And they support each other. And that really seems to have happened in Alice's case.
One of the neighbours who came to the first one said in front of Alice and to me, said, well, this is what adult social care should be about. And it, again, Alice, I think, felt very empowered by the support from the people who were there, and also the fact that we left the room and then came back, and she very much had control with those people who she trusted over a plan. And the other thing is, I don't know whether it's because I'm a social worker, I do think it's quite nice to put things, you know, on a footing that everybody understands in writing. You know, I actually think that's nice to that at the end of it there is something that somebody has that it's actually kind of written down, a plan is written down, and I think that's also saying, you know, taking a cap off, saying, well, actually we respect you enough to produce this plan. So the coordinator, I think, goes out of the way to make sure that there is evidences that, you know, we're formalising this a little bit, and I think that helps maybe.
And that group of people, they were people from her community, they were friends of hers, they were people that lived locally to her, weren't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, that's really interesting, because actually there were some people there who didn't really connect or know each other, but started to get to know each other through the family group conference. And of course, by the third review, they really got to know each other. And they were saying, I only saw her when she put the rubbish out, and they actually got to know each other with the focus around Alice. And there were other neighbours, such as Polly, who had done some informal work, but then felt much more welcome to be a little bit more assertive and to assist. So, for example, Polly and her husband lifted all of these photographs lying on the floor and actually put them up on the wall, and that made a big difference to Alice. I think the main thing is, for me, is that, you know, assets are in the community. They are in the community. They are around people, and it's not for me to act, you know, for Alice, and it's actually for me to act with her and to really seek out and understand what is actually around her and to work with that. And that, I think that's a really good emphasis of FGC and strength-based approach. So the assets are in the community, and that goes back to what Alice said when she said, welcome to my neighbourhood. There's a really interesting shift there, which comes from the FGC. It's come from our confidence for the FGC.
And it felt to me like that, hearing about her family group conference and seeing her talk about it, in that it wasn't like the FGC was a good fit for her, it was she was a good fit for the FGC, and she utilised it. Yeah. And her strength, big strength for her, was her presence in the community, and the people that she knew in her immediate neighbourhood. Yeah. And that came through in the FGC, didn't it?
It did, absolutely, it came through, and also the amount of kind of care that was already there. So, you know, Alice didn't want or need a care package, and it wasn't about just putting in a service for her. It was about staying with her. You know, we hear sticking with her, but it really was about sticking with her. And the reason that I stuck with her, and then we had the safeguarding conference, was actually because of the FGC. So the FGC is in itself a very good, you know, an example of a strength-based approach.
And to me, it was a strong statement of your values as a social worker, and also a strong statement of Camden's values, that Alice could come and present on an occasion like that.